The Boston morning was crisp, a May breeze carrying the scent of blooming lilacs and damp cobblestones through the streets of Cambridge. Diane Sullivan stood outside Harvard Yard, her navy coat buttoned against the chill, her breath fogging as she clutched a small bouquet of white roses for her son Ethan. At 50, Diane was a familiar figure in Boston's academic circles. Her accounting firm in Back Bay had kept her tethered to the city's pulse for decades. But today, she felt like an outsider, her heart a knot of pride and unease. Ethan was graduating from Harvard today, a milestone Diane had dreamed of since he was a boy scribbling math problems in their Dorchester kitchen. She'd raised him alone, a single mother after his father's early death, pouring every spare dollar into his future. The college fund she'd built, $150,000, scraped together through late nights and skipped vacations, had paid his tuition, a sacrifice she'd made with love. But now, as she approached the yard's iron gates, the crowd of families in tailored suits and bright dresses made her feel small, her sensible heels clicking uncertainly on the path. Her phone buzzed in her purse, a text from her best friend Maureen, who ran a bookstore in Jamaica Plain. "Maureen, you at the graduation yet? Bet you're bursting with pride." Diane typed back, her fingers stiff. "Just got here. Feeling off. Ethan's been distant. Talk later?" She pocketed the phone, her eyes scanning the sea of faces. Ethan had been her anchor, his laughter filling their small apartment, his late-night study sessions fueled by her coffee. But since he'd started dating Olivia, a fellow senior from a wealthy Newton family, he'd grown quiet, his calls brief, his visits rare. Diane had chalked it up to senior year stress, but the silence stung. Inside the yard, the graduation setup was grand, rows of chairs facing a stage draped in crimson, the air humming with anticipation. Diane approached an usher, a student in a black cap and gown, and showed her ticket. "Diane Sullivan," she said, her voice warm. "Mother of the graduate." The usher scanned a tablet, her brow furrowing. "Sullivan, you're in section F, row 20. Back there." She pointed to a distant corner, far from the stage. Diane's smile faltered. "Row 20, there must be a mistake. I'm his mother." The usher shrugged, already turning to the next guest. "That's what the list says. Sorry." Diane's chest tightened, but she nodded. Weaving through the crowd to section F, row 20, was a folding chair in the shadow of an oak, the stage a blurry speck. Around her, strangers chatted, friends, cousins, distant relatives, while closer, rows filled with parents in designer coats, their faces glowing with pride. She sat, the roses wilting in her grip, her mind racing. Ethan had handled the tickets, promising to save her a good seat. This felt deliberate, a slap she hadn't seen coming. Her phone buzzed again, a text from Ethan. "Ethan, Mom, you here? Crazy busy with Olivia's family. Find you after?" Diane stared at the screen, her thumb hovering. "Section F, row 20, she typed, then deleted it. Instead, she wrote, "I'm here. Congrats, sweetheart." She hit send, her throat tight. The ceremony began, a blur of speeches and pomp. Diane strained to see Ethan cross the stage, his cap tassel swinging as he accepted his diploma. Her heart swelled, but the distance, literal and emotional, cut deep. She clapped, her hands stinging, but her seat felt like exile. Olivia's family, she noticed, sat in the front row, their laughter carrying even from afar. After the ceremony, Diane waited by the yard's gates, the crowd thinning as families posed for photos. Ethan appeared, his gown unzipped, Olivia on his arm. She was striking, tall, blonde, her smile polished, flanked by her parents, a couple in tailored linen who exuded Newton wealth. Ethan's face lit up when he saw Diane, but his hug was quick, distracted. "Mom," he said, his dark hair tousled. "You made it. How was it?" Diane forced a smile, handing him the roses. "Amazing, Ethan, I'm so proud, though my seat was pretty far back." His smile flickered, his eyes darting to Olivia. "Yeah, sorry. Ticketing was a mess. Olivia's dad pulled strings for their seats and we ran out of good spots." Diane's jaw tightened. "You ran out? Ethan, I'm your mother. I paid for this." She gestured vaguely, meaning more than the ticket, the tuition, the years, the love. Olivia's mother, Claire, stepped forward, her smile tight. "Diane, it's so nice to meet you properly. The ceremony was lovely, wasn't it? We're hosting a reception at our place in Newton. You're welcome to join." The invitation felt like an afterthought, Claire's eyes already on her phone. Diane's pride bristled. "Thanks," she said, her voice cool, "but I've got plans." Ethan frowned, his voice low. "Mom, come on. It's just a party. Don't make it weird." "Weird?" Diane's voice rose, then steadied. "Ethan, we need to talk. Alone." Olivia's father, Richard, clapped Ethan's shoulder. "Let's get moving, champ. Limo's waiting." Ethan hesitated, then followed, promising Diane a call later. She watched them go, the roses drooping in her hand, her heart a storm of hurt and anger. That evening, Diane sat in her Dorchester apartment, a cozy space filled with Ethan's old report cards and photos. His first bike, his prom, his move-in day at Harvard. The air smelled of chamomile tea and the faint must of old books. She sipped her tea, her mind replaying the day, the back row, Ethan's dismissal, Claire's smug hospitality. She'd given everything for Ethan's future, and now she felt erased, pushed to the margins of his life. Her phone rang. Maureen, her voice warm over the line. "How was it? You crying happy tears yet?" Diane recounted the day, her voice breaking only once. "They put me in the back, Mo, like I was nobody. And Ethan just let it happen." Maureen's sigh was heavy. "That's cold, Diane. He's caught up in that girl's world, but you're his mom. You deserve better." "I know," Diane said, her fingers tracing the mug's rim. "I paid for that degree, every cent, and now I'm an afterthought." "You're not," Maureen said. "But maybe it's time to remind him who you are. You've got power, Diane. That college fund account's still in your name, right?" Diane froze, the idea sparking like a match. The fund, though mostly spent on tuition, still held $20,000. Savings she'd kept for Ethan's grad school or emergencies. She'd never touched it, her love for him absolute, but now the thought of reclaiming it felt like justice. "I could," she said, her voice low, "but that's drastic." "So was Row 20, Maureen said. "Think about it." The next morning, Diane sat at her Back Bay office, a sleek space with a view of the Charles River. Her desk was piled with client files, but her mind was on Ethan. She opened her banking app, checking the college fund, 21,225.67, untouched since his last tuition payment. Her fingers hovered over the transfer option, her heart racing. It wasn't about the money, it was about respect, about reminding Ethan she wasn't invisible. She closed the app, not ready yet, but the idea took root. She called Ethan, her voice calm but firm. "We need to talk, in person, tomorrow, 10 a.m., at Tata Bakery in Harvard Square." His reply was hesitant. "Yeah, okay. I'm sorry about yesterday, Mom. It was hectic." "Hectic doesn't cut it," she said. "See you tomorrow." She hung up, the Charles River glinting outside, Boston's resilience in its flow. Diane was a mother, a fighter, and she was done sitting in the back row. Whatever came next, she'd face it head-on. The Boston morning was bright but sharp, a late May sun glinting off the Charles River and casting long shadows through Harvard Square. Diane Sullivan sat at a corner table in Tat Bakery, the air thick with the aroma of fresh croissants and espresso, the chatter of students and professors, a low hum around her. At 50, Diane was a steady presence, her navy blazer crisp, her auburn hair pulled into a low bun. But today, her hands fidgeted with a coffee cup, her heart braced for the conversation with her son, Ethan. The sting of being relegated to the back row at his Harvard graduation still burned, and she needed answers. The bakery's glass windows framed the bustle of Cambridge. Bicyclists weaving past red brick buildings, street musicians strumming near the tea station, the distant chime of a church bell. Diane's accounting firm in Back Bay was just a short train ride away, but this morning felt worlds apart from her usual routine. She'd raised Ethan alone, her life a tapestry of sacrifices, extra shifts to fund his SAT prep, missed vacations to build his $150,000 college fund. That fund had carried him through Harvard, but yesterday's humiliation in Section F, Row 20, had cracked something in her. She wasn't just hurt, she was angry, and the idea of reclaiming the remaining $20,000 in the fund, as Maureen had suggested, was no longer unthinkable. Her phone buzzed on the table, a text from Maureen, her best friend in Jamaica Plain. "Maureen, you at Tata? Give Ethan hell, but keep it classy. Call me after." Diane managed a small smile, typing back, "Here, classy but firm. Talk soon." Maureen's bookstore was a haven where Diane had vented her frustrations last night, her tea growing cold as she poured out the graduation's indignity. Maureen's advice, remind Ethan who held the purse strings, had planted a seed, one Diane was still wrestling with. The door chimed, and Ethan walked in, his lanky frame filling the space. At 22, he had his father's dark eyes and easy charm, but today his shoulders were tense, his Harvard hoodie rumpled. He spotted Diane and offered a hesitant wave, grabbing a coffee before sliding into the chair across from her. "Mom," he said, his voice cautious, "thanks for meeting. Yesterday was a lot." Diane set her cup down, her eyes steady. "A lot doesn't cover it, Ethan. I was in the back row at your graduation, row 20. You promised me a good seat." He winced, rubbing the back of his neck. "I know, I screwed up. Olivia's family, they took over the ticketing. Her dad's got connections, and they wanted their people up front. I didn't realize how far back you'd be." "Didn't realize." Diane's voice was low but edged. "Ethan, I'm your mother. I paid for that degree, every tuition bill, every textbook, and you let them push me to the back like I was nobody." Ethan's face reddened, his coffee untouched. "It wasn't like that. It was chaotic, Mom. Olivia's parents are intense. They planned everything, and I was trying to keep the peace." "Keep the peace." Diane leaned forward, her hands clasped to keep them still. "By sidelining me? I raised you alone, Ethan. No father, no family money, just me working nights, saving every penny for your future. And this is how you repay me?" He looked down, his fingers tapping the table. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought you'd understand. Olivia's dad, he's kind of a big deal, and—" "Stop!" Diane cut in, her voice sharp. "I don't care about Olivia's dad. I care about you, and you made a choice. You chose them over me." Ethan's eyes met hers, a mix of guilt and defensiveness. "That's not fair. I'm not choosing anyone. I'm just trying to balance things. Olivia and I are serious, Mom. Her family's part of my life now." Diane's chest tightened, the words landing like a blow. She'd met Olivia a few times, polished, ambitious, a product of Newton's elite, but her family's influence was a new wall between her and Ethan. "And what about our family?" she asked, her voice softer. "Now? What about me?" "You're still my mom," he said, his voice breaking. I didn't think it'd be a big deal. I'll make it up to you, okay?" "How?" Diane asked, her eyes searching his. "By inviting me to another event where I'm an afterthought? I deserve better, Ethan." He nodded, swallowing hard. "I know. I'll talk to Olivia. We'll figure it out. Just don't be mad, please." Diane exhaled, her anger tempered by love but not erased. "I'm not just mad, Ethan. I'm hurt. And I need to see you act like my son again, not her family's errand boy." He flinched but didn't argue. "I've got to go," he said, standing. "Olivia's parents are throwing a brunch. I'll call you tonight, okay?" Diane nodded, her throat tight. "Don't forget." He hugged her. A quick, awkward embrace, then left, the door chiming behind him. Diane stared at her coffee, the steam gone, her heart a tangle of love and betrayal. She'd given Ethan everything, but he'd let her fade into the background. The college fund, her money, her sacrifice, was a power she hadn't wielded yet, but the temptation was growing. That afternoon, Diane returned to her Back Bay office, the Charles River sparkling outside her window. Her desk was piled with client files, tax returns, audits, but her focus was elsewhere. She opened her banking app, the college fund's balance staring back. $2,125.67. Transferring it to her personal account would be simple, a click to reclaim what she'd given. But it wasn't just money. It was a message, a line in the sand. She closed the app, her resolve wavering but not gone. Her phone rang. Maureen, her voice a warm anchor. "How'd it go with Ethan?" she asked. Diane recounted the conversation, her voice steady but heavy. "He's sorry, but it's all excuses. Olivia's family runs the show and he's just following." Maureen's sigh was sharp. "He's 22, Diane. He's dazzled by their money, their connections, but you're his mum. You don't have to sit back and take it." "I know," Diane said, leaning back in her chair. "I'm thinking about the fund, taking it back. It's mine legally, but it feels harsh." "Harsh?" Maureen laughed, a dry sound. "They stuck you in row 20. Harsh is letting him think that's okay. You don't have to empty the account, just move. It show him you're serious." Diane's lips twitched, a spark of defiance igniting. "Maybe. I need to think." "Think fast," Maureen said. "You're not invisible, Diane. Make him see you." That evening, Diane sat in her Dorchester apartment, the air warm with the scent of lasagna she'd baked out of habit, a comfort from Ethan's childhood. The walls held memories, his science fair ribbons, a photo of them at Fenway Park, his Harvard acceptance letter framed by the window. She poured a glass of red wine, her mind replaying Ethan's words. "Olivia's parents are intense. I'm trying to balance things." Balance, she thought, meant her sacrifice weighed less than their influence. Her phone buzzed, a text from Ethan. "Ethan, sorry again about today. Brunch was crazy. Can we talk tomorrow? Maybe dinner at my place? Diane's?" Thumb hovered, her hurt battling her love. She typed back, "Dinner sounds good. 7 p.m. Let's talk honestly." She hit send, then opened her banking app again. The college fund's balance glowed, a reminder of her power. She didn't transfer it, not yet, but she screenshot the screen, a silent promise to herself. The next morning, Diane walked through Boston Common, the park alive with joggers and dog walkers, the air fresh with spring. She stopped by a pond, watching ducks glide, her mind clearer in the city's embrace. Ethan's dinner invitation was a chance to rebuild, but she wouldn't go as a supplicant. She'd raised him, funded his dreams, and deserved respect. If he couldn't give it, she'd take back what was hers, not just the money, but her place in his life. She called Maureen, her voice firm. "I'm meeting Ethan tonight. If he doesn't step up, I'm moving the fund. Not all of it, but enough to make a point." Maureen's voice was proud. "That's my girl. You're not just his mom, you're Diane Sullivan. Show him." Diane hung up, the Common's green expanse stretching before her. Boston was her city, its history her strength. She'd face Ethan tonight, and whatever came next, she'd do it standing tall. The Boston evening was soft and golden, the late May sun dipping below the brownstones of Beacon Hill, casting long shadows across the cobblestone streets. Diane Sullivan stepped off the Green Line at Arlington Station, her low heels clicking as she walked toward Ethan's apartment in the South End. The air carried the scent of blooming magnolias and the faint tang of the Charles River, a familiar Boston mix that usually grounded her. At 50, Diane was a pillar of resilience, her accounting firm in Back Bay a testament to her grit, but tonight her heart was a storm of hope and apprehension. Dinner with her son Ethan was a chance to mend the rift widened by his Harvard graduation, but the sting of being relegated to row 20 still lingered, sharp as ever. Ethan's text from yesterday, promising an honest talk, had sparked a cautious optimism, but Diane wasn't naive. His girlfriend Olivia and her wealthy Newton family had cast a long shadow over their relationship, and Diane needed to know where she stood. The college fund, 21 to 25 67 the last of her savings for Ethan's future, loomed in her mind, a power she hadn't yet wielded but was ready to, if pushed. She'd raised him alone, sacrificing her own dreams to fund his Harvard degree, and she deserved more than a back row seat in his life. Her phone buzzed in her purse, a text from Maureen, her best friend in Jamaica Plain. Maureen, you at Ethan's. Yet stay strong, but don't let him off easy. Call me after. Diane typed back, her fingers steady. Heading there now, ready but nervous. Talk soon. Maureen's fierce support had been her anchor, her bookstore a refuge where Diane had wrestled with the idea of reclaiming the fund. Last night's conversation, Maureen's insistence that Diane wasn't invisible, had solidified her resolve. She wouldn't beg for Ethan's respect. She'd demand it. Ethan's apartment was a sleek loft in a converted warehouse, its brick walls and high ceilings a far cry from their modest Dorchester home. Diane rang the buzzer, her navy dress simple but elegant, a small gesture of armor. Ethan opened the door, his dark hair neat, his button-down shirt tucked in, a rare effort for him. At 22, he still had the boyish charm that had once filled their evenings with laughter, but his eyes were guarded now. "Mom," he said, hugging her briefly. "Glad you came. Come on in." The apartment smelled of garlic and rosemary. A pot simmering on the stove. Olivia was at the kitchen island, chopping herbs, her blonde hair tied back, her smile polished but tense. "Diane, hi," she said, wiping her hands on an apron. "It's so nice to see you. Ethan's been talking about this all day." Diane nodded, her smile polite. "Thanks for having me. Smells wonderful." Ethan gestured to the dining table, set with candles and wine glasses. "Olivia made risotto, her mom's recipe. Sit, I'll grab the wine." Diane sat, her purse at her feet, her eyes scanning the space. The loft was stylish. Modern art, a leather couch, a view of the South End's rooftops. But it felt like Olivia's world, not Ethan's. Photos on a shelf showed them at ski resorts and gala dinners, none of Diane or their Dorchester life. The absence cut deeper than she'd expected. Dinner began with small talk. Ethan's job offer at a Boston consulting firm, Olivia's grad school plans at MIT. Diane listened, her fork moving through the creamy risotto, her responses measured. But the tension grew, a current beneath the surface. Olivia's mentions of her parents, Claire and Richard, Newton elites, were frequent, their influence woven into every plan. "We're thinking of a summer trip to Nantucket," Olivia said, sipping her wine. "My dad's got a place there. Ethan's never been. Can you believe it?" Diane's grip on her glass tightened. "Ethan and I never had much time for vacations," she said, her voice calm. "I was working, saving for his college." Ethan shifted, his eyes on his plate. Olivia's smile faltered, but she recovered. "Of course. That's so admirable, Diane. Ethan's lucky to have you." The word lucky grated, a patronizing pat on the head. Diane set her glass down, her resolve hardening. "Ethan," she said, turning to him, "we need to talk about the graduation, honestly, like you promised." Ethan's fork paused, his face reddening. "Mom, can we not do this now?" "No," Diane said, her voice firm but low. "We're doing it now. You put me in row 20. Ethan, I paid for your degree, $150,000, every cent from me, and you let Olivia's family push me to the back." Olivia's eyes widened, her knife clinking against her plate. Ethan rubbed his neck, his voice low. "I said I was sorry. It was a mistake. Olivia's dad handled the tickets and stop blaming her dad. Diane cut in, her eyes locked on his. You're my son. You knew where I was sitting, and you did nothing. Do you know how that felt? Like I was invisible. Ethan's jaw tightened, a flicker of guilt crossing his face. I didn't mean for that to happen. It was chaotic, Mom. I was trying to keep everyone happy. Everyone but me, Diane said, her voice steady despite the ache. I raised you alone, Ethan. No fancy connections, no Nantucket houses, just me, working nights, giving up everything for you. And now you're balancing me against them? She gestured vaguely, meaning Olivia's family. Olivia leaned forward, her voice soft but defensive. Diane, we didn't mean to hurt you. My parents are particular, but Ethan loves you. We're a family now, too. Diane's eyes flicked to Olivia, her patience thinning. Family doesn't stick family in the back row. Family fights for each other. I fought for Ethan his whole life. Where were you then? The table went silent, the candles flickering. Ethan's face was pale, his hands clasped. Mom, that's not fair. Olivia's been there for me. Her family's helping us. Out, grad school, connections. I'm trying to build a life. And what about our life? Diane asked, her voice breaking. The one we built together? Am I just expendable now? No, Ethan said, his voice urgent. You're not. I screwed up, okay? I'll make it right. Just tell me how. Diane studied him, searching for the boy who'd clung to her during thunderstorms, who'd called her his hero. He was there somewhere, but buried under Olivia's world. Start by acting like my son, she said, not their puppet. I need to know I matter to you, Ethan. Words aren't enough. He nodded, his eyes glistening. I hear you. I'll do better, I promise. Olivia reached for Ethan's hand, her smile strained. We'll both do better, Diane. You're important to us. Diane didn't respond, her trust bruised. She finished her wine, the conversation limping to safer topics. Boston's, spring weather, Ethan's job. But the rift was raw, and when she left, Ethan's hug was tighter, his voice soft. I love you, Mom. I'll call tomorrow. Make sure you do, she said, stepping into the South End's cool night. The next morning, Diane sat at her back bay office, the Charles River a silver thread outside her window. Her desk was a fortress of spreadsheets, but her mind was on Ethan's promise. His guilt seemed real, but promises were cheap, and Olivia's influence was a wall she couldn't breach. She opened her banking app, the college fund's balance glaring, $20,125.62. Transferring it would be a statement, a reclaiming of her sacrifice, but it felt like a blade she wasn't ready to swing. Her phone rang. Maureen, her voice a lifeline. How was dinner? She asked. Diane recounted the night, her voice heavy. He's trying, Mo, but it's like he's half here, half with them. Olivia's parents are everywhere. Tickets, vacations, grad school. I'm losing him. You're not losing him, Maureen said. He's dazzled, but he's your kid. That fund, though? Move it. Not to hurt him, just to wake him up. Diane's lips twitched. I'm close. I need to see if he follows through first. Fair, Maureen said, but don't wait forever. You're Diane Sullivan, not a doormat. That afternoon, Diane walked to Copley Square, the city's energy a balm. The Boston Public Library loomed, its arches a reminder of her strength. She stopped at a cafe, her phone buzzing, a text from Ethan. Dinner again soon. Just us. I want to fix this. Her heart lifted, but caution lingered. She typed, name a day, I'm listening. Then she opened her banking app, her finger hovering over the transfer button. She didn't press it, but the act was a vow. Boston's skyline glowed, and Diane knew she'd fight for her place, whatever it took. The Boston dusk was a deep indigo, the city's skyline twinkling against the Charles River as Diane Sullivan stepped out of her back bay office, her scarf fluttering in the late May breeze. The air carried the earthy scent of spring rain and the faint hum of traffic along Boylston Street, a rhythm as familiar to her as her own heartbeat. At 50, Diane was a woman of resolve, her accounting firm a testament to her tenacity. But tonight, her thoughts were on her son, Ethan, and the fragile thread of their relationship. His promise of a one-on-one dinner, made after their tense confrontation at his South End apartment, hung in the air like a lifeline. But Diane's trust was bruised. The humiliation of sitting in row 20 at his Harvard graduation, coupled with the growing influence of Olivia's wealthy Newton family, had left her feeling erased, and the college fund, $20,125.67, her hard-earned savings, was a power she was increasingly ready to wield. Her phone buzzed in her coat pocket, a text from Ethan confirming their dinner. Ethan, Mom, 7 p.m. at the Friendly Toast in Cambridge. Just us. Looking forward to it. Diane's lips curved, a cautious hope stirring. She typed back, "See you there. Don't be late." She pocketed the phone, her heels clicking as she headed to the Green Line, Boston's streetlights casting a warm glow. Ethan's effort was a start, but words alone wouldn't heal the rift. She needed action. Proof that she wasn't an afterthought in his new life with Olivia. The subway rattled toward Kendall Square, and Diane's mind drifted to Maureen's advice. Move the college fund, not to punish Ethan, but to remind him of her sacrifice. The fund, though mostly spent on his Harvard tuition, still held enough to make a statement. She'd checked her banking app again this morning, the balance a stark reminder of her years of overtime and skipped luxuries. Transferring it would be legal. It was in her name, but it would also be a bridge burned. She wasn't ready to press the button, but the option was a fire in her chest, warming her resolve. The Friendly Toast was a Cambridge staple, its retro diner vibe. Neon signs, checkered floors, and vinyl booths, bustling with students and locals. The air smelled of pancakes and coffee, a comforting mix that eased Diane's nerves as she slid into a booth by the window. Harvard Square pulsed outside, its bookstores and buskers a vibrant backdrop. She ordered a decaf, her eyes on the door, her heart braced for Ethan's arrival. He walked in at 7:05, his dark hair damp from a light drizzle, his hoodie swapped for a collared shirt, a small nod to effort. At 22, Ethan still carried the boyish charm that had once filled their Dorchester evenings, but his eyes held a new weight, a mix of guilt and determination. He slid into the booth, his smile tentative. "Mom," he said, setting his phone face down. "Thanks for coming. I ordered fries to start. You still love their ranch dip, right?" Diane's heart softened, the memory of late-night fries at their kitchen table tugging at her. "You remembered," she said, her voice warm but guarded. "Let's talk, Ethan. No distractions." He nodded, his fingers tapping the table, a nervous tick she knew well. "I know I messed up at graduation. The row 20 thing, it was awful and I should have fixed it. I'm sorry, Mom, really." Diane sipped her coffee, her eyes steady. "I hear you, but sorry doesn't erase it. I paid for that degree, $150,000 every cent from me. I worked nights, gave up vacations, all for you. And you let Olivia's family push me aside. Why?" Ethan's face reddened, his gaze dropping. "It wasn't intentional. Olivia's dad, Richard, he's got this way of taking over. He got us front row seats, and I didn't check the rest. I thought you'd be closer." "You didn't check," Diane repeated, her voice low. "That's the problem, Ethan. You didn't think about me at all. You're my son, not their errand boy." He winced, his hands stilling. "I know, I'm trying to juggle things. Olivia, her family, my job. They're helping me out, Mom. Richard got me that consulting gig. It's a big deal." Diane's jaw tightened, the mention of Richard, a Newton power broker, stoking her frustration. "And what about me? I got you through Harvard. No connections, no fancy houses, just me. Am I just disposable now?" "No," Ethan said, leaning forward, his voice urgent. "You're not. I love you, Mom. I'm building a life. With Olivia and her family's part of it. I don't want to lose you, though. Then act like it, Diane said, her eyes searching his. I need to know I matter, Ethan. Not just with words, but with actions. You can't keep letting them sideline me. He nodded, swallowing hard. I get it. I'll do better. Olivia and I are planning a dinner next week, just the three of us. No parents. A fresh start, okay? Diane studied him, her hope tempered by caution. I'll hold you to that, but I'm not here to beg for a seat at your table, Ethan. I deserve one. You do, he said, his eyes glistening. I promise, Mom, I'll fix this. The fries arrived, and they ate, the conversation lighter, his new job, her latest client drama. But Diane's heart was still heavy, Ethan's promises echoing his apologies from Tata Bakery. She wanted to believe him, but trust was a fragile thing, and Olivia's family loomed like a storm cloud. As they parted outside, Ethan hugged her, longer, his voice soft. Love you, Mum. Thanks for giving me a chance. Love you too, Diane said, stepping into the Cambridge night. The square was alive with students, the air cool and damp. She walked to the tea station, her mind churning. Ethan's effort was real, but it was a bandage on a deeper wound. Olivia's family wasn't going away, and Diane needed to protect her place in his life. The next morning, Diane sat at her Dorchester apartment, the air warm with the scent of fresh coffee and toast. Her kitchen table held a photo of Ethan at his high school graduation, his grin wide, her arm around him. She opened her banking app, the college fund's balance glaring, 20,125.67. Maureen's voice echoed, make him see you. Diane's finger hovered over the transfer button, her heart racing. She didn't want to hurt Ethan, but she needed him to understand her sacrifice. She transferred $10,000 to her personal savings, half the fund, her breath shaky as she confirmed. It wasn't the full amount, but it was enough. A statement, a reclaiming of her power. She'd tell Ethan soon, but first she'd see if his dinner promise held. Her phone buzzed. A call from Maureen. How was the friendly toast? She asked, her voice bright. Diane recounted the night ending with the transfer. I moved half the fund, Mo. I couldn't wait anymore. He needs to know I'm serious. Maureen's laugh was triumphant. Damn. Diane, that's bold. How do you feel? Scared, Diane admitted, but also free, like I'm taking back something they tried to erase. You are, Maureen said. Ethan's your kid, but you're not his doormat. Keep me posted. That afternoon, Diane was at her Back Bay office, the Charles River a silver ribbon outside. A client meeting loomed, but her mind was on Ethan's text from this morning. Dinner next week, Mum. I'm talking to Olivia today. We'll make it work. Her hope flickered, but the transferred $10,000 was a shield. She'd given Ethan a chance, but she was done waiting in the shadows. Then her phone buzzed again. A text from Olivia, unexpected and formal. Olivia, Diane, I'd love to meet. Just us, before our dinner. Coffee at Thinking Cup in Back Bay tomorrow 3 p.m. Diane's eyebrows rose. Olivia reaching out alone. It felt like a trap or maybe a bridge. She typed back, I'll be there. She closed her phone, Boston's skyline steady outside. Whatever Olivia wanted, Diane would face it head-on, her strength forged in the city's grit. The Boston afternoon was warm and restless, a June breeze rustling the trees along Newbury Street as Diane Sullivan stepped into Thinking Cup, a cozy Back Bay. Café. The air inside was rich with the scent of roasted coffee and fresh scones, the hum of conversation, a soft backdrop to her racing thoughts. At 50, Diane was a woman forged by sacrifice, her accounting firm a symbol of her grit, her single motherhood, a badge of love. But today, she felt the weight of her choices. Her meeting with Olivia, Ethan's girlfriend, loomed like a crossroads, and the $10,000 she'd transferred from the college fund yesterday was a secret she wasn't ready to reveal. The humiliation of sitting in row 20 at Ethan's Harvard graduation still stung, and Diane was determined to reclaim her place in his life, even if it meant burning bridges. The cafe's wooden tables were scattered with laptops and pastry crumbs, its windows framing the bustle of Back Bay. Shoppers with boutique bags, joggers heading to the common, the distant chime of a streetcar. Diane chose a table by the corner, her navy blazer crisp, her auburn hair neatly pinned. She ordered a latte, her fingers tracing the cup's rim as she waited for Olivia. Ethan's promise of a one-on-one dinner next week had sparked hope, but Olivia's unexpected request for coffee felt like a test, and Diane was braced for anything. Her phone buzzed, a text from Maureen, her best friend in Jamaica Plain. Maureen, "You at Thinking Cup? Don't let Olivia steamroll you. You're the—" "Queen here," Diane smiled, typing back, "here and ready. I'll call after." Maureen's fierce support had been her anchor, her bookstore a refuge, where Diane had wrestled with the decision to move half the college fund, $10,000 of the remaining $20,125.67, into her personal savings. It was a bold act, a reclaiming of her sacrifice, but the guilt gnawed at her. She'd tell Ethan soon, but first she needed to understand Olivia's role in their rift. The door chimed, and Olivia walked in, her blonde hair loose, her tailored dress a nod to Newton wealth. At 22, she was polished and poised, her smile warm but calculated. "Diane," she said, sliding into the chair across from her. "Thanks for meeting me. I ordered an iced coffee. Hope that's okay." Diane nodded, her eyes steady. Of course, you wanted to talk, Olivia. I'm listening." Olivia's fingers tapped her cup, a flicker of nerves breaking her composure. "I know things have been tense. The graduation was a mess, and I feel awful about your seat. I wanted to clear the air before our dinner next week." Diane's jaw tightened, but her voice was calm. "Row 20 wasn't just a mess, Olivia. It was a choice. Ethan's my son, and I paid for his degree, $150,000, every cent from me. Being pushed to the back hurt more than you can imagine." Olivia's eyes widened, her voice soft. "I didn't know it was that bad. My dad, he's used to handling things, and we didn't check the seating chart properly. I'm sorry, Diane, Ethan feels terrible." "Ethan's apologies are piling up," Diane said, leaning forward, "but words aren't enough. I raised him alone, gave up everything for his future, your family's influence, tickets, vacations, jobs. It's pulling him away from me. I need to know where I stand." Olivia swallowed, her poise faltering. "You're his mom. You'll always matter. But Ethan and I are building a life together. My parents are intense, but they're helping us. Grad school, connections. Ethan's trying to balance it all." "Balance?" Diane's voice was low, edged with hurt. "He's my son, not a bargaining chip. Your family's help doesn't erase what I did for him. I deserve respect, Olivia, not a back row seat." Olivia nodded, her eyes glistening. "You're right, I didn't see it from your side. I'll talk to Ethan, make sure he steps up. Our dinner next week, it's a start, I promise." Diane studied her, searching for sincerity. Olivia seemed genuine, but her family's shadow loomed large and Diane's trust was thin. "I'll hold you both to that," she said, "but I'm not here to beg for a place in Ethan's life. I've earned it." Olivia's smile was tentative. "You have. I want us to be family, Diane, not rivals." Diane didn't respond, her latte cooling. They parted with a polite handshake, Olivia promising to follow through. As Diane stepped into Newbury Street's sunlight, her heart was heavy but resolute. Olivia's words were a gesture, but gestures weren't enough. Ethan needed to act, and soon. The next evening, Diane sat in her Dorchester apartment, the air warm with the scent of chamomile tea and the faint hum of a Red Sox game on TV. Her kitchen table held a photo of Ethan at his first Little League game, his grin wide, her cheering in the stands. She opened her banking app, the college fund's new balance, $10,125.67, staring back. Transferring half had been a statement, but the guilt was a quiet ache. She needed to tell Ethan, to make him understand her pain. Her phone rang. Ethan, his voice hesitant. "Mom, can I come by tomorrow? Just us. I talked to Olivia, and I want to make things right." Diane's heart lifted, but caution lingered. "Tomorrow, 6 p.m., she said. "I'll cook. Be here, Ethan." She hung up, her resolve hardening. Tomorrow, she'd lay it all bare. The fund, the hurt, her expectations. Boston's skyline glowed outside, its resilience her own. Ethan arrived the next evening, his Harvard hoodie familiar, his dark eyes nervous. Diane's apartment smelled of roasted chicken and rosemary, a comfort from their past. They sat at the kitchen table, the meal simple but warm, the silence heavy with unspoken words. "Mom," Ethan began, his fork pausing. "I'm sorry again. Olivia told me about your coffee. I didn't realize how much the graduation hurt you. I've been a jerk, letting her family take over." Diane set her glass down, her voice steady. "You did, Ethan. I gave you everything, $150,000 for Harvard, years of my life, and you let them put me in row 20. Do you know what that felt like?" He looked down, his voice low. "Like I didn't care. But I do, Mom. I was caught up, Olivia's dad, the job, grad school plans. I didn't see you." "You didn't see me," Diane repeated, her eyes stinging. "That's why I did something, Ethan. The college fund. There was $20,000 left. I transferred half to my savings. It's mine legally, and I needed to remind you I'm not invisible." Ethan's jaw dropped, his face paling. "You took the fund?" "Mom, that was for grad school." "It was my money," Diane said, her voice firm. "My sacrifice. I raised you alone, paid every bill, and you let me fade into the background. I'm not punishing you, Ethan. I'm protecting myself." He leaned back, his hands shaking. "I didn't know it was that bad. I thought we were okay." "We're not," Diane said, her voice breaking. "But we can be, if you fight for me like I fought for you. No more excuses, no more Olivia's family running the show. I'm your mother." Ethan's eyes glistened, his voice soft. "I get it. I'll do better, Mom. No more back rows. I'll talk to Olivia, set boundaries. Just don't take the rest of the fund, please." Diane studied him, seeing the boy she'd raised, now a man grappling with his mistakes. "I won't touch it for now," she said. "But you need to prove you mean it. Actions, Ethan, not words." He nodded, reaching for her hand. "I will. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry I made you feel like you didn't matter." She squeezed his hand, tears threatening, but held back. "I love you too. Always." The weeks that followed were a slow mending. Ethan kept his word, hosting a small dinner with just Diane and Olivia, the conversation cautious but genuine. Olivia was quieter, her parents' influence less overt, and Ethan made a point to call Diane weekly, sharing his job updates and grad school plans. He invited her to a Red Sox game at Fenway Park, just the two of them, their cheers echoing under the green monster. A return to their old rhythm. Diane left the remaining $10,000 in the fund, a gesture of faith in Ethan's growth. Her accounting firm thrived, her promotion to partner a validation of her strength. She met Maureen at her Jamaica Plain bookstore, their tea steaming as they laughed about Ethan's newfound effort. "You did it," Maureen said, her eyes bright. "You made him see you." "I did," Diane said, her smile warm, "but I saw myself too." One June evening, Diane stood on the Esplanade, the Charles River shimmering under Boston's twilight. The city's skyline, Hancock Tower, Prudential Center, glowed like a promise, its lights dancing on the water. At 50, Diane felt a quiet triumph, her navy coat loose in the warm air, her heart lighter than it had been in months. The graduation sting, row 20, the erasure by Olivia's family, had faded, not gone but softened by Ethan's efforts and her own resolve. Reclaiming half the college fund had been her stand, a reminder to Ethan and herself that her sacrifices mattered. Now, with their bond mending and her place restored, she was ready to embrace the future. She pulled out her phone, snapping a photo of the skyline, then texted it to Ethan with a simple message, "Thinking of you, proud of us." His reply came fast. "Love you, Mom. Dinner soon." Diane smiled, typing, "Always." Walking home to Dorchester, the city's pulse around her, buskers in the common, laughter from sidewalk cafes, Diane felt Boston's resilience in her bones. She'd raised a son, built a career, and reclaimed her voice. The college fund, now $10,125.67, was a gift she'd hold for Ethan's grad school, but on her terms. She was no longer the back row mother. She was Diane Sullivan, seen, strong, and whole.